Starting Five is out on Netflix. What did we learn about Tyrese Haliburton, his season last year, the fun highs and the low lows? Tyler Smith joins us today to talk about that, a little bit about a wrinkle in the Pacers point guard chase, and a little bit about the Spurs. It's all coming today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Congrats, you made it through the week, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today, Tyler Smith from Indy Sports Legends is going to join us, and we are going to talk about Starting Five. It's out on Netflix, a docu-series-ish thing about Tyrese Haliburton's season with so much behind-the-scenes stuff. So much. It was awesome to get that kind of peek behind the curtain about a person and player, especially in such a crazy season with a disaster start, crazy highs, a devastating low at the end, and see his perspective on all of it. It was awesome, awesome, awesome behind-the-scenes stuff that you just never, ever, ever really get to get in sports. And Tyler and I talk about our favorite parts, what we learned from it. And then we also talk about a little bit of point guards after Spencer Dinwiddie got waived, and a little bit of Spurs at the very end. Let's just get right to it. We are not Netflix stars, but this podcast, for about 2 sentences, was in Starting Five on Netflix. Tyler Smith from Indy Sports Legends is here to talk all about it. Tyrese Haliburton season with so much more detail, which, one, was awesome, but two, made the heartbreaking end very sad. Tyler, how are you? Did you actually enjoy the experience? I actually really liked getting to see all this stuff, despite having to see him in the back after and during Game 7.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little difficult, but I feel like for some fans and media, it's kind of maybe a little therapeutic too, just to watch it, just to kind of relive the magic that was the season. So I don't, if there's some fans that can't stomach it yet, I mean, that's completely understandable. But for me, I loved watching it. I feel like it's something that even years from now, be able to show kids and grandkids, like this insane season that we experienced was documented. So it's pretty special to be part of that.
In as much detail as possible, like relationships, parents, Christmas, puppy chow, all of it. And yeah, including the excruciating end and all of the highs of the game winners of every round, including, I like that they, because the finals was 2 guys that were a part of the program, they could just be like, Shay, what did you think of Tyrese Haliburton's game winner against you from Game 1? I enjoyed many things from this. I have the most notes, ironically, on that ending part, but do you have anything or one takeaway that stands out to you the most? Because I kind of think that if I had to start somewhere, it would be how he viewed his struggles really early in the season.
I mean, that would probably be mine as well, just because, like, even some of the quotes in there about even considering stepping away, and
that was
not really sure what that would have completely looked like, but I feel like some people will say, you can't walk away from the team. That's kind of a weak mindset. To me, it's the exact opposite. To me, it's like a lot of strength for someone to recognize, I think he said, I know if I'm not right, the team's not right. And just understanding that, maybe it is best that, and who knows how long that would have been. But to just have that, he was in such a dark place, to have even a thought of stepping away, even for who knows how long, a couple games or whatever it would have been. But I would say that's something that, to me, it seems like it was years ago, the beginning of that season, because so much happened after that. But yeah, it was pretty eye-opening, and you just kind of, the ups and downs, the roller coaster, one of the biggest roller coaster seasons we've ever seen, and we got to, get to the nitty-gritty of it from that documentary.
Yeah, him saying he's never felt as negative about himself from a basketball perspective as he did at that time. Like, I'm pretty sure we kind of knew that. Like, he's never struggled to that extent, especially since becoming a star. But it was all very jarring. And my next note was exactly what you just said. The fact that he considered literally stepping away from the team because he felt like, as an emotional leader, if he's like this poor, he's just holding them down, right? I thought that was shocking to see. And I thought the other part of it that was really interesting that, like, I guess people talked about this a little bit, was like during the season, if you'll recall, people were talking about the Olympics and being like, did playing in the Olympics make him hurt or like set back his hamstring and all this stuff? Is that why? Is he injured? Is it a back thing? And he didn't say that at all. What he said about the Olympics was it was confidence draining because he never played, right? He was so deep on the bench. Like, yeah, it was cool to be there, but he had no confidence, and that really took away from him. And then it was funny to see, like, right when he's getting it back and Drew Hanlon is sitting there running through the plays and Joel Embiid's FaceTiming him like, yeah, you're going to score 0 points again. like that's what he had to live through. But the fact that it got that low was shocking to see, because they didn't get to this part in it because it's not like so critical. But I'm assuming that meeting with Hanlon and talk with Embiid was right before they played them in that game that got scheduled, what would have been the in-season tournament, that's when they turned their season around, right? So all those conversations were like actually extremely important in changing what looked like one of the weirdest seasons ever and then immediately turning around.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And, once again, something like this gives you some insight of some things that probably do happen from time to time with athletes. I think maybe you see it more in some other sports. But the fact that, these guys are, busting their tails every day, playing 3 to 4 times a week, but just how the smallest thing can set you off or pick you back up. And, again, to get some insight in that and to see like the camaraderie of the NBA. I feel like more respect for SGA and some of those guys, their comments about Tyrese and the Pacers in general. That's one of my takeaways from the whole thing as well. Just kind of the brotherhood, even though there's some rivalries and a lot of smack talk. But, I don't think, even 7 months ago, if you were to ask a Pacer fan, like, you think Joel Embiid is going to have a big role in helping Tyrese Haliburton, his psyche moving forward? I mean, they would have thought you're nuts. So pretty cool to see that too.
The KD part of that was funny because Tyrese was like, yeah, I view KD as the NBA seal. And KD's like, yeah, people definitely hate Tyrese. Okay. But that was actually good commentary in the moment, right? I think it's funny that Tyrese admitted he like wants to be like a heel / villain in the league. The whole beginning was just really interesting too. Like, I didn't realize how much he viewed their loss to Boston 2 years ago in the playoffs as like him choking and them choking. Like, don't get me wrong, all the games were close, but like Boston was just better. And then later he's like, yeah, I wanted to play Boston in the conference finals. Like, I wanted to beat them specifically. I was very surprised by that part. I had a lot of personal life stuff too that ended up being really interesting to me. One, for example, like how many episodes of the 8 that he appeared in was the proposal to Jade subplot in? Like basically all of them, which was really funny. Shout out to Jade. She crushed it with the jokes the whole time. And then John was in it a lot, obviously, too. And one, it was very, he was like adorable when he was like showing off the pictures at their house. And then, of course, the honest part happens. It was very shocking to see Ty see it on his phone and not realize it happened. But the John part that made me like the most, I don't know, like emotional was when he was talking about not being able to be in Cleveland to watch the games. Yeah. I thought all that family stuff was all so interesting. And that was my favorite one that I was like, oh man, that like, I get that Ty's reaction was correct to that, but it had to hurt John so much in the moment.
Yeah, it's tough. You see the human side of it when, a lot of people, especially on the other side, are just thinking this crazed dad who's on the court and they don't even know. They didn't, I guess, pay attention to the rest of that story of how him and Giannis kind of made up immediately and were cool. But you had to see that side of it. I also thought it was really interesting that I think John said something about calling Tyrese after that game 2 Cleveland game and saying like, hey, you got to be careful with your celebrations. And, if I'm reffing and, kid does that, it's going to be a problem. So I thought that was interesting. And you mentioned Jade with the joke. She pulled out the stepbrothers line in their home and stuff, which was amazing. But yeah, the family element of that is one of the really cool parts. I feel like, Haliburton, obviously we cover him. So it's like the entire season that he had could have been entirely about him, but they did a really good job of mixing up for all 5 guys.
The whole point of behind the scenes is to have those kind of elements, but like to see Thanksgiving and Christmas and like James and Obi hanging out at his house. And it's like, you get an appreciation for like the life of them in a year and like what they're about and what their family is about. And I really liked a lot of that. A lot of that little stuff was funny to me, like him ordering Culver's Why did I was there's probably a moment they filmed that they're like, why did we film that? And then it was hilarious. The like every James Johnson thing in there was very funny. Okay, I want to rapid fire through a few things before we talk about the sad Achilles ending of it all. One of the funniest moments to me was when Ty was telling Rick and Mike Weiner that he was just going to hand the ball to Karl Towns at the end of the New York game. And they were both like trying to drop the play and tell him what to do. He's like, no, I'm just going to give it to him. And they were like, what? And then he did it. It was very funny.
Yeah, that's cool. And there's a few moments, some more serious, where he's kind of like strategic. And other times it's like him going up to coaches. You mentioned that moment, but there were some other moments too, where he's going up to teammates and I love how the coaching staff was obviously trusting him, and there's a lot of that, for this squad. But just to get all those sound bites was amazing. But yeah, telling your head coach, hey, here's what I'm going to do, and he was kind of pushed back a little bit, but like, nope, that's what I'm going to do. So check it out.
I'm going to commit a turnover, and they're both like, what? And he's like, it's fine, I promise. It worked. I got a kick out of Carmelo Anthony telling him to chill out at the end of the game one in that same game too, of like the guy there in Knicks gear rooting for the Knicks. The Reggie cameos were all just awesome. I mean, the rat pissing on a cotton ball reference was good, but every time they cut to Reggie, I felt like he was the perfect person to be interjecting thought at that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just to me, like it was such a movie throughout the year, and even those amazing moments, the choke sign for Reggie to be right there for the point, for like just all of it. And then when they get to the finals, how special it was for Pacer fans to see Reggie not on the call, but in the building wearing different teammates' jerseys. And then to have this documentary come out and Reggie, like, Uncle Reg, like the voice of the Pacers now. It was pretty magical, and something I think, obviously Tyrese is going to have the rest of his life to look at as well.
The choke part was hilarious because his barber's telling him about it. He's like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then the first game he did it. He's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. He was very finals focused like the whole season. Like when they were bad or they were in sixth, and him and Jade are both like, yep, finals this year. And they were right. I liked his reaction to the overrated stuff. He just didn't really care. There was a lot of stuff that he really leaned into, like the booing in Milwaukee. And he's like giving thumbs downs and booing back. And then he's dunking that game. But it was very funny. Two other small things, unless you have more. One is I really liked hearing how he interacts with refs. Like I've known that's a thing he's good at because of his dad, and he's talked about that before. But to see it and see how he actually does it was really interesting. I also thought it was interesting hearing him talk about how the Kings told him to look for houses in Sacramento. That is very coded in the NBA for like, yeah, we're going to keep you. And they did not. Did you have anything else that I missed before we get to like the sad part?
I loved his quote about Kobe. Well, he had several, but the one about, I wish I could be like Kobe and just kind of stare off into the crowd, hitting a game winner, but that's not me. So love that. I also love the soundbite when, OG's at the foul line and misses the first, and Tyrese goes, I might, even that, like I would be, even if I had all the confidence in the world in that moment, I'd be like, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh shoot, like we got a chance to win. But for him to audibly say, and then to obviously shoot the shot, the bounce shot, pretty cool. So, yeah, I mean, so many moments. I think, too, like just seeing more of the basketball mind of him. So you mentioned talking to officials, but him talking to teammates. For any young hoopers out there, this guy, every time they were down this magical season, the fact that he's kind of laying out, you got to walk it down, you got to get from 10 to 5 to, he did that several times. And that's infectious, like not just his – the way he speaks, but obviously leading by example. And, that's important for anybody, no matter really what you're going through. If you're in a sport and you're behind, that's the mentality to have. So it was cool to see that as well.
Yeah. Him telling everybody how he set up Giannis for that game winner, all that stuff, like just delightful little peeks into the insight. Everybody, quick break. We got to talk about Wayfair. The holidays are going to be here before you know it, which is exciting. But getting your home ready for guests and celebrations can feel like a lot. Maybe your serveware needs a refresh, or the guest room could use new bedding. Wayfair has everything you need to get your home holiday ready, from Christmas trees and wreaths to bedding, cookware, and outdoor inflatables. It's your one-stop shop for every room in the house. Wayfair makes it easy to personalize your home for the holidays with a huge selection from every style and budget. And with free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff, you can get everything you need without the hassle of huge delivery fees. So many great things you can order. Holiday decor that'll transform your living room. It makes it easy on Wayfair to find things that fit your style and budget. The delivery is fast and free. So stop stressing about getting your house ready and enjoy the holidays with friends and family. Get organized, refreshed, and ready for the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now and shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. So unfortunately, like, the part that no one wants to relive was by far the most revealing part, solely because it was by far the most like unknown behind the scenes, is him in the back after the Achilles tear, which, like, I was at the game. Like, I saw a lot of sad people all day. I think the most like tug at your heartstrings moment in the whole thing was him. It's actually their cut in the beginning, and then they show the whole thing at the end, is when he's watching the game and it's 32-32 and he says, "Make it worth it," to his team. You're just like, damn, like that had to be such a heavy moment for everybody in that room.
Yeah. Such a helpless feeling. And the fact too, I mean, it's obviously he's at the arena, but he's in this like side room with like the small TV. I mean, just every part of it. And you know that going through his mind as well is like, this is next season as well. This is just like, who knows if I'll get this opportunity again. Thankfully had Jade and his mom with him, but I can't imagine, because you're obviously in, pretty terrible pain as well, but so much of your career leading up to that moment to be kind of taken from you, and then to see your teammates, you so badly want them to pull it out, but it's just going to be difficult. You see the lead slip away, you see Oklahoma build a lead, and it just had to be just such an awful feeling, but I think he handled it incredibly well. He mentioned in the doc he didn't get the opportunity. Like, his one regret was not to give the big halftime speech, but
I wanted to talk about that.
That's got to be tough.
I wondered about that because I also put that as a note to talk about, that's his biggest regret from that game, because I've talked to somebody somewhat recently who was like, who knows how that game goes if he gets hurt in the third quarter, because they were wondering like, oh man, how much of that game shifted because after halftime, the Thunder could come out and reset emotionally, whereas the Pacers had to go back to the locker room without Ty and regroup. I've always kind of wondered, and now we know the answer because he said this, if he was in there, how shocking that would have been for his teammates to see him, or if a speech would have helped or hurt, right? Like, we heard Obi after the game be like, it's my fault he got hurt. I could never get my mind back in the game. So I'm not going to guess what anybody's psyche would have been, but I've always wondered exactly how that all went down. At halftime, if they could walk past the room that he was sitting in and see him, how that all went. So it's very interesting to hear him be like, yeah, I feel horrible that I didn't do this. And the second half was all Thunder, right? They just ran away with the game. And SGA was like, yeah, I didn't think we won until we were up 16 with 40 seconds to go because of how the Pacers have been. But that was a very revealing, obviously, but thing for him to say that was his biggest regret out of everything. Because when Dustin and I talked to him before Game 6, he's like, yeah, I know the risks, I'm playing, which was really fascinating to think about in retrospect, because he admitted in this after Game 5, he was legitimately scared, with his calf injury. He was actually scared to be doing stuff, but he was pushing through. He looked good in both Game 6 and 7 in the moments he played. And so to still have a regret, even after fighting through that fear and, you were winning when you left the game, giving your team a chance to win a championship was just it was, I was at the game. I saw all the emotions of the people, and it still made me be like, dang, this hurts, man. This hurts for everybody.
Yeah. It'll be the forever what if. And unfortunately too, it's really, obviously Game 7 of the finals, what if, and then it's also the following season. What could this next season have been? And it's just a really just horrible ending to an incredible movie is the best way I can put it. It's just like you're watching a movie for hours and all of a sudden at the end, you're like that's how it ends. And it's kind of tough, but yeah, part of that too is I've thought about that a lot. If he gets hurt at any point in the second half, maybe they have a lead, for a while there, they did well in that initial surge. Maybe the halftime, for Oklahoma was a chance to regroup and kind of reset how they were going to attack the Pacers. You just never know. But we could have seen an all-time McConnell finish to a championship. It's just a forever what if, but just a phenomenal year no matter what.
Because it's really interesting in the game because both teams were shell-shocked at first. like even the Thunder after his injury were like not very good right away. And the Pacers obviously were winning at halftime. You just wonder if the emotions are shifted to a later point, if it's after halftime, if that would have given them a chance. Like it all just, what a mess. It was so sad to see. It was cool to see the Thunder side of it and see the actual interaction of Shea going back and finding him at the game. I really appreciated that they got that in there. And Shea was very humble about his championship aspirations. Anything else from that moment that stood out? Can I run through a couple? And by a couple, I mean one more playoff thing that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, go for it.
Them going back through game 4 of the finals, that one was actually like more shocking to me to see in retrospect. Just like that tie right at the game, he's walking off. He's like, all right, guys, let's go. Like being all uppy about the fact that it's a best of 3 now. But I like in my head, you were at the game too. Like to me, the moment that stands out was the first time I feel like the crowd was like, oh my gosh, we're going to win the finals, was when they were up 7 in the fourth quarter. I forgot they were up double digits in the third quarter. And so to see that game relived and how Ty reacted to that one, that one is the one that made me, when watching, be like, man, like that was so crazy to see again, because that finish was just as crazy, but it was the only one the whole playoff that did not go the Pacers' way that was that tight.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I remember thinking when they were up 2-1, I was thinking, okay, now they've proven they belong in the series, whether game 1 was a fluke or not. Up 2-1, they're officially in it. They officially have a chance. But there was a little part that was like, they're probably going to have to go up 3-1 to win this thing. So I think they're up 10 with maybe a minute and a half or 2 left of the third quarter, something like that. They had kind of a lackluster ending to the third quarter, which they did a pretty good job in the playoffs, but they harped on that. I remember Pascal and Ty talking all the time about starting end of quarters for playoffs. That was unfortunately one of the times it was not well. And then obviously the fans will talk about the officiating and all that stuff, but definitely look back. That's the one that really got away.
Yes.
Obviously, if they're up 3-1, maybe things play out differently. Maybe they don't clinch it at home in game 6. Maybe Oklahoma, maybe that turns into how game 4 was. We have no idea. But obviously, if you're up 3-1 and have 3 chances, including a home game, to win a title, it's quite different feeling to it. So a lot of regret of how they finished game 4.
But it was funny because after game 5, Shea's driving home with his wife. And she's like, man, if you guys won game 1, like this is over. And he's like, well, yeah, but like we should have lost game 4, right? So the realization was interesting there. One more break here, everybody, so we can talk about FanDuel. The NFL season is here. Games are back. Oh, the Bengals. And FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet. Put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So many people love using FanDuel for so many different reasons because they give you so many ways to play. You can build parlays. You can follow live lines during the games, try player props, whatever. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little bit something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, you just want to make watching your favorite team all the more exciting. FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com, download the FanDuel app today, and get started. I also enjoyed just hearing him describe the crazy game winners again, even though, I also have seen and talked about those many times, reliving those equally. I hope people can enjoy those as much as they hate seeing the very end of the end again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy for a player to have one of those in their career. So to have four in a postseason, just insane. Yeah. I'm still just picturing the future, like the fact that instead of just YouTube videos and highlights, like to have this documentary from now into the future, if fans can't watch it now, they'll appreciate it later on.
Do you have anything else that you enjoyed that I haven't gotten to yet?
I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to go back and watch the whole thing. I watched pretty much all the Haliburton parts so far.
I also skipped through a lot, not all, but most of the other player stuff.
Yeah.
I did not skip through the trade deadline part, which was very interesting. Kevin Durant was very revealing in that. And that might have been the craziest, learn about the NBA part, is hearing KD directly talk about exactly how he's feeling about being traded, which teams he wants to go to, why not. I'm like, whoa, you never get this transparency from a player on it. That was really crazy. I was starting to watch the whole thing, so I saw a little bit of the Harden love story and Jaylen Brown being hurt and all that. I want to watch the whole thing because it was really good. And I did watch the full ending and you see like what players are doing in the offseason, which I also appreciated the Haliburton proposal being the ending because it was a subplot the entire time.
Yeah.
I have to tell everybody this now. Tyrese and I have fictional beef because he played Can I Have This Dance from High School Musical at his proposal. And they actually talked about in the documentary why that song was special to him and Jade. Well, a piano cover of that song was my wife and I's first dance song earlier this year. Ty copied me, Tyler.
Oh,
it's the
my
only
goodness.
explanation, right?
That's
bummed.
tough. Did you let him know?
I forgot one other funny thing. How many freaking Chick-fil-A points that dude has?
Oh, wow, yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah, I did see part of the two of James Harden getting pulled over, and they're like, "Are you filming this right now?" I was like, "That was pretty funny."
The cop being like, "Am I on TV?" And they're like, "Yes." You should probably just end this engagement. That was quite funny. I have to say this because I mentioned it at the beginning. This very podcast is in fact in there for a couple seconds, and you can hear my voice in there. So if you're a talent agent, I am looking for an agent now because, of course, there I am. I'm just kidding. It was very interesting to see, and I walk right in front of the camera in episode 8 at one point. I feel really bad because I cut off a good shot of Tyrese walking off the podium after games. So Netflix producers, if you're listening, hand up. I would like to apologize on that one. Tyler, a player got waived in the NBA yesterday that got a lot of tweets sent my way, and it was Spencer Dinwiddie, who had a fully guaranteed contract with the Hornets. He signed on July 13th, too early to ever even be in consideration for the Pacers point guard spot. How have you, before we talk about him for a second, how would you evaluate what campaign has done so far? Do you feel like if there's actually an upgrade available, they should be looking for it? Is Dinwiddie one? Like, how do you feel about all that ecosystem-wise right now?
Kind of similar to last year's backup center position. It was kind of a carousel for a while.
Yeah.
And, even when they got a guy that has a good game or two, they're still constantly looking, and then eventually landing on Thomas Bryant, who did a solid job. NBA Finals legend now, Thomas Bryant, for that performance. So I kind of feel similar for the point guard situation, and really trust in the front office. If they brought a guy in, somebody else becomes available, and they think it's even the slightest of upgrades as they try to really maneuver this first, who knows, month, 6-7 weeks of the season. Those are going to be important minutes. They're trying to compete, trying to still be a playoff team. So I think, Payne has some obviously abilities they like, but it wouldn't surprise me if they go another route. So it's one of those deals where it's like, trust the front office. They'll eventually land on somebody that kind of fills that back up to third string role when TJ's back.
I think with McConnell and Cam hurt, another point guard is going to be on the opening night roster. Campaign obviously being on the team has a nice advantage there. I'll say this. I don't know how much better, but I do think Spencer Dinwiddie is better than him. I wonder what he'll be able to get. What I mean by that is, he got waived on a fully guaranteed deal. Like, someone could just claim him, but his contract would be fully guaranteed. The Knicks, especially after Brogdon retired, might want a point guard. Obviously, the Pacers could, in theory, want one. The Rockets probably can. I don't think they can afford one, but they need one. The Mavs, because Exum is hurt, might need one. It's not just like they're like, hey, if we want Spencer Dinwiddie, we just get him. And if he clears waivers, then it's a bidding war. But how much guaranteed money are you offering? It's not as simple as just like, we want player, we get player at this stage. But I would at least have a meeting. If I'm the Pacers, I'm definitely having a meeting about it, because this is as good as, if not better than, every other option level of dude who just randomly gets sparked into the market. That I thought the Hornets' last waiver was going to be Pat Connaughton. I get why they kept him. He's good tradable salary. So I don't know what every other team was thinking. I'm sure many prognosticators in front offices realized Spencer Dinwiddie could become available, especially after they traded for Sexton. I'm rambling. It's at least something they have to talk about. It's interesting. He is a decent player. He's played for Dallas so many times that a couple people asked me if he's played for Carlisle before. He has not. Those were all Jason Kidd stints. But let's see what Payne could look like with another game. If he looks good in San Antonio, he had that good third quarter. I'm kind of like, okay, I get it. They've actually invested time in him in the system. How much is that going to matter when the guy's playing 10 games to start the season, or 10 to 15 games? If there's any time it requires to ramp up Dinwiddie and you feel like Payne is more ramped up, that could matter, right? So there's a lot to it, but there is a new cast member to consider in this never-ending Monte Morris, DeLon Wright, campaign carousel that's already begun. Ugh,
Yeah.
never ends.
I feel like Dinwiddie too has been a pacer killer at times.
Yes.
So he's had some of those moments at the field house that it's like, is this guy ever going to slow down when he plays Indiana? It seems like, but I wonder too, how much of that on his end would it be, what's my role when McConnell gets back? Do I have an opportunity to, to earn some more minutes? Would I then be on the trade block? What does that kind of look like? And in terms of if he's not just claimed, one of his options as well. But you feel like this preseason is a little more important than most for this team, because usually it's like, what they have. Now you got a bunch of guys vying for, starting center position, backup center position, backup point guard, some young guys trying to prove themselves. So it does make the preseason a little more intriguing than normal. But we'll see what happens with the San Antonio game coming up.
I believe they signed Trey Mann and Spencer Dinwiddie the same day. So I kind of just wonder what Dinwiddie wants. Like, because he got a fully guaranteed deal, but he also signed with a team that has Trey Mann, Colin Sexton, LaMelo Ball. Like, he had to know there was no minutes coming his way, but he got a fully guaranteed contract, right? So now if it's the opposite, he already has the money by getting waived. If he's more searching for role, if he's still looking for guaranteed money, I'm not going to guess what his psyche is. But the Pacers can offer minutes, at least to start the season. So maybe that would be more appealing than any other team that couldn't potentially offer minutes. We'll see. Campaign might just be the answer. Last thing, Tyler, they play the Spurs again tonight when this comes out. They got punked by the Spurs earlier this week. What would you like to see go differently, better, whatever?
Well, it's pretty much ramp up time. So you want to see some better production from the five, because I've
a little.
I've been pretty high on what I think will eventually become the rotation at the five. And as far as you're looking at like the 48 full minutes at the position, I'm thinking at some point could become somewhat close, because the backup minutes were so bad at times last year. But they've not shown much so far. And obviously some of that's some rust and getting back from injury and all that. But I think to me, that's the biggest thing is, even more so than the backup one, is trying to figure out who's going to play well at the five and who's going to be ready right away. So that would be probably the top of my list.
The best individual game so far was Jay Huff against the Thunder's C team or whatever that was. They're missing 10 guys, maybe D team. Like, I would like one of them to have a full good game start to finish against a good team, because when they play good teams, they've all of them have had good stints here and there, but never like a full, like, I'm like, awesome. Like, the Pacers will feel good about that guy doing that thing. That I think would be the obvious thing. I mean, I've said it every day since the Spurs game, like one center pop, like for a full game. We'll see. Yep. Tyler, season's almost here. I'll be seeing you a lot very soon. Where can people find you? Your coverage of the recently extended Curt Cignetti, the Pacers, the no longer playing Chicago Cubs, and so much more.
Tyler Smith _ISL on Twitter or X, whatever you call it. And mostly IndySportsLegends.com for coverage of Pacers and IU. Sorry about the Cubs line, but Cignetti. I should have worn the IU hat today. I should have done it. Big news. Thank you, Penn State. If that actually is what made this happen, thank you, Penn State. Thank you, UCLA, for beating James Franklin and making this all possible. We'll be back tomorrow for a short one talking about a couple things that happened in Pacers Spurs. Then it's time for real games. I can't believe it. We're finally there. Looking forward to actually talking about competitive basketball and not deep bench guys all the time. Thank you all so much for listening today. If you have Netflix, I highly encourage you watch this. It's very, very good. And insights that is just so, so rare to get in sports. Thank you all for listening. See you very soon.